The sun had barely crested the horizon, painting the sky in pale gold and pink, when an ordinary morning turned into a nightmare. The river beneath the old wooden bridge was calm, reflecting the light like a sheet of glass, but the serenity was about to shatter. A tattooed man, his face twisted with cruelty, stepped onto the bridge, clutching a bundle of small, helpless puppies. Their tiny squeaks were barely audible over the gentle rush of water, but they were enough to tug at the hearts of anyone who noticed. He looked around as if daring anyone to stop him, and then, with a sudden shocking motion, he hurled the puppies over the edge. Gasps erupted from the few early risers who had been walking along the bridge. A mother pushing a stroller froze, her hand flying to her mouth. Joggers skidded to a halt, eyes wide in disbelief. The puppies hit the water with tiny splashes, bobbing helplessly in the current. The river, which had seemed so peaceful, now carried cries of fear and desperation. For a moment, it seemed impossible that anyone could intervene. But then, a figure appeared at the edge of the bridge, a mother dog, a golden retriever named Luna. She had been resting near the railing, her ears perking up at the sound of her puppy's distress, her body tensed, every muscle coiled with determination. She barked once, low and fierce, a sound that carried authority and warning at the same time. The tattooed man glanced at her, smirking as if to say she was powerless. But he was wrong. Without a second thought, Luna leapt from the bridge. The cold air rushed past her as she fell, the river below swallowing her in a sudden, icy embrace. The current tried to sweep her away, but she fought against it with every ounce of strength she had. Her paws churned the water, her teeth gripping nothing but the will to survive and protect. Panic rose in her chest, but it was quickly replaced with clarity. Her puppies needed her. One by one, she spotted them, tiny heads bobbing in the water, eyes wide with terror. She paddled toward the nearest one, lunging forward and securing it gently in her jaws. Time slowed as she navigated the swirling water, dodging debris and fighting against the current. Each second felt like an eternity, every movement a battle for life. The world above seemed distant, the shocked cries of onlookers mixing with the roar of the river. Yet Luna's focus never wavered. Instinct and love guided her. She could feel her heart pounding in rhythm with the struggle, each beat reminding her of the stakes. There was no choice but to succeed. Failure was not an option. The river seemed endless, and the man on the bridge looked down, suddenly uncertain as Luna's courage became impossible to ignore. The puppy's soft whimpers and tiny splashes tugged at something deep inside him, a hint of fear mingled with disbelief. Luna's determination transformed the ordinary riverbank into a battlefield, where a mother's love would clash with human cruelty in a fight for survival. Luna's paws churned the icy river as she pushed forward, the current trying its hardest to sweep her and her precious cargo away. The first puppy wriggled in her jaws, tiny legs kicking helplessly, but she held on, her teeth gentle yet firm enough to keep it safe. The cold bit into her fur, numbing her muscles, but every shiver and strain was meaningless compared to the lives she was determined to save. Her eyes scanned the water frantically, searching for the next pup. There, just a few feet downstream, another tiny body bobbed parallel, sly close to a sharp bend in the river. With a surge of energy, Luna paddled harder, her strong chest cutting through the water like a living shield. She reached the struggling puppy just in time, scooping it up and tucking it safely under her neck. The river tried to push her back, swirling around her legs and pulling at her tail, but she refused to be defeated. Her ears flattened against her head as she growled, a low, threatening rumble that echoed over the rushing water. The tattooed man on the bridge shouted, trying to distract her, waving his arms and cursing, but Luna didn't even glance at him. His threats were nothing. Her focus was absolute. The third puppy was farther out, floating dangerously close to a tangle of reeds where the water churned unpredictably. Luna hesitated for only a heartbeat, calculating the angle and timing of her approach, and then surged forward like a bolt of gold through the dark water. She reached the pup just as the current began to drag it under. Gripping it carefully in her jaws, she shook her head to dislodge the water and paddled furiously toward the riverbank. Around her, the water was alive with tension, each splash a note in a symphony of survival and determination. The onlookers on the bridge were frozen, unsure whether to leap into action or simply watch in awe. Some had already pulled out their phones, capturing the moment, but others were helplessly screaming for her to hurry. Luna's eyes flicked up for a moment, seeing the faces blurred with fear and hope. For her, there was no waiting, no hesitation. Every ounce of strength she had was devoted to her babies, and every beat of her heart was a vow she would not lose them. Finally, the fourth puppy came into view, caught in a swirl of white water. Luna's muscles trembled with exhaustion, her chest heaving with each frantic stroke, but she surged forward with a burst of adrenaline only a mother could summon. She grasped the pup gently and pushed through the last stray teach of the current. The river seemed to sense her determination, the whirlpools parting as if unwilling to challenge her. As she neared the shore, her paws scrabbling for purchase on the slippery rocks, the crowd's murmurs of awe grew louder. She wasn't just a dog anymore. She was a force of nature, a guardian unwilling to yield. The tattooed man froze, his smirk replaced by confusion and fear. Luna's growl, low and unyielding, was a warning he would never forget. She had already turned the tide, proving that no act of cruelty could overpower the courage of a mother protecting her young. Luna's paws finally scraped against the slippery river bank, and for a moment, she fought to catch her balance. The water poured off her golden fur in rivulets, but she didn't stop. One by one, she nudged her rescued puppies onto solid ground, shaking them gently to remove the icy water from their tiny bodies. Their frightened eyes looked up at her, and she felt a wave of relief wash through her exhale. Stead muscles. They were alive, they were safe, for now. The crowd that had gathered on the bridge and along the bank erupted, in cheers and applause, but Luna didn't notice them. Her eyes were fixed on the tattooed man, who now stood frozen, his arms half raised in a mixture of anger and fear. His tattoos, meant to look intimidating, seemed almost comical in the face of her sheer determination. She growled low, a warning that rumbled deep in her chest, and the man instinctively took a step back. There was no mistaking her message. She would not let him come near her family. A few brave onlookers began to approach, shouting at him to leave and moving to block his path. The man hesitated, calculating whether he could overpower them, but the look in Luna's eyes made him pause. This was no ordinary dog. She was a mother defending her children with every ounce of strength, and the crowd's growing solidarity made it clear that he was outnumbered. He cursed under his breath, backing away Toa. R&D the bridge, realizing too late that his actions had turned the public against him. Luna carefully gathered her puppies, nudging them close to her belly to keep them warm. Their small bodies shivered, but she whispered reassurance through soft nuzzles and gentle licks. Her mind raced, not with fear for herself, but with worry for her babies. The river had been cruel, but her resolve had been stronger. Every instinct, every heartbeat, every movement had led her to this moment of victory. As the authorities arrived, drawn by the commotion and the shouting crowd, the tattooed man finally saw that resistance was pointless. Officers moved in and he was restrained, still muttering threats, but the power in his words had been drained by Luna's courage. She stepped back, her body trembling from exhaustion but her spirit unbroken. The puppies, sensing her relief, nuzzled her and whimpered softly, as if thanking her for the impossible feat she had accomplished. The crowd continued to murmur a ND cheer, forming a protective circle around Luna and her family. She sat tall, chest heaving, eyes sharp, keeping the man in her line of sight, letting him know without a sound that any attempt to harm her babies again would be met with unyielding resistance. She had not only saved her puppies, but had inspired the humans around her. They saw what true courage looked like, something that could not be taught or faked, only felt deep in the heart as a mother's love. The riverbank, once a place of danger and fear, had been transformed into a stage for triumph. Luna's bravery had changed the course of that morning entirely. What had started as a moment of terror had ended in unity, survival, and an undeniable victory. The tattooed man had underestimated her, underestimated the power of love, and now he faced the consequences, while Luna and her pups stood strong, shining symbols of resilience and courage. Days after the terrifying incident, Luna and her puppies were safe, warm, and sero. undid by care at a nearby animal shelter. The tiny pups, once so fragile and trembling in the river, had grown stronger with each passing day, their playful energy returning as if the traumatic events had never happened. Luna, still wet from the river on that fateful morning but now clean and dry, moved among them with vigilant grace. Every whimper, every tiny yawn, every shuffle of paws drew her immediate attention. She had faced impossible danger once, and her protective instincts had only grown sharper. The story of Luna's bravery had spread through the town like wildfire. People stopped by the shelter not just to see the puppies, but to meet the dog who had defied cruelty and risked everything for her family. Volunteers and visitors alike marveled at her courage, taking photos and sharing the tale online. Children clung to their parents' hands, wide-eyed as they listened to the story of the mother who had leapt into the icy river without hesitation. For many, Luna had become a symbol of hope, of courage, and of the raw, unstoppable power of love. Even the shelter staff were awed. They spoke of her with reverence, telling each newcomer how she had faced the tattooed man, how she had paddled against a merciless current, and how she had ensured each of her puppies survived. Her bravery had inspired not only the humans who witnessed it, but also those who only heard the story later. People donated food, toys, and blankets, wanting to ensure that Luna and her pups would never face danger alone again. Her resilience had brought out the best in the community, uniting them in admiration and compassion. Luna herself seemed to understand the magnitude of what she had done. She carried herself with quiet dignity, her eyes bright and intelligent. Though she was tired, there was no fear in her gaze, only a calm, steady strength. She spent hours with her puppies, guiding them, protecting them, and teaching them how to play safely. Each tiny bark and stumble she corrected, each cuddle and lick she offered, reaffirmed her role as their guardian. The river and the tattooed man were behind her, but the lessons of courage and vigilance had become part of her being forever. The town had not forgotten either. Flyers detailing Luna's heroism appeared in shops, cafes, and schools. Local newspapers ran stories about the dog who had refused to allow cruelty to prevail. People who had never cared for dogs before found themselves moved, inspired to act with more kindness and courage in their own lives. Luna had become more than a mother protecting her litter. She had become a symbol of the extraordinary lengths love could go to, a reminder that even the smallest creatures could perform feats that would shake the hearts of humans. And every time someone walked past the bridge where it had all begun, they paused, thinking of the day a mother dog had taken on the impossible. The river, once silent and peaceful, now seemed to shimmer with the memory of her courage. Luna, her puppies nestled safely against her, would always be a testament to strength, loyalty, and the power of love. In the end, it wasn't the fear, the cruelty, or the chaos that defined the story. It was the mother who refused to give up, the dog who fought back, and the lives she saved with nothing but determination, heart, and unwavering devotion.